Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that's absolutely crucial if you're building or running cloud-native apps, synthetic monitoring. We all know that low-level panic of keeping systems reliable, right? But what reliable actually means is changing fast. We're going to see why just keeping your servers humming isn't nearly enough to keep your business running. So, picture this. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You glance at your dashboards and wow, everything is just this beautiful, calming sea of green. CPU is low, memory is fine, zero critical infrastructure alerts are firing. But then, your phone blows up. Support is getting hammered, users are screaming that the app is painfully slow or just completely dead. How is that even possible, right? I mean, how can a system that's literally engineered to report its own health tell you everything's peachy, while the actual people trying to use it are completely locked out? It's kind of the ultimate on-call nightmare. And it exposes a massive blind spot. Because as it turns out, monitoring your infrastructure is definitely not the same thing as monitoring your user's experience. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the green dashboard illusion, then cover what synthetic monitoring actually is. Next, we'll compare infrastructure versus user experience, walk through a real-world Google Cloud example, hit some best practices, and wrap up with the architect's perspective. All right, part one, the green dashboard illusion. Why telemetry just isn't enough. Look, modern cloud platforms pump out an ocean of telemetry data. We're all obsessively tracking CPU utilization, memory consumption, network throughput, disk performance, container health, Kubernetes nodes, the whole shebang. And don't get me wrong, you absolutely need this alphabet soup of metrics to run a scalable platform. But, they really only tell half the story. The real issue here is that we're often confusing two completely different questions. All that infrastructure data, it just answers, is the infrastructure operating correctly? But your customers, they don't care about that at all. They're asking, can I successfully use the application? And those two questions don't always have the same answer. Your platform can look 100% healthy under the hood, while your users are literally pulling their hair out over login failures or API timeouts. Moving on to section 2, what is synthetic monitoring? Simulating the user experience. So let's get on the same page with a definition. Synthetic monitoring is the proactive use of automated scripts to continuously simulate real user interactions and validate business journeys. Basically, instead of just crossing your fingers and waiting for a frustrated customer to open a support ticket, you're proactively running predefined transactions over and over. It's kind of like having a robot user testing your system 24/7, even at 3 a.m. when everyone's asleep. So what exactly are these robot users doing? Well, they're walking through the exact same critical paths your real customers do, opening the homepage, logging in with a username and password, searching for a product, adding it to a cart, checking out, or even hitting your backend REST APIs. They're constantly measuring availability, latency, and whether the whole end-to-end transaction actually succeeded. The entire goal here is to catch those customer-impacting bugs before a real human ever encounters them. Which brings us to section 3. Infrastructure versus user experience, comparing the metrics side by side. Okay, look at this breakdown. On the left, infrastructure monitoring is all about the components, CPU, memory, pods, network. It asks, is it healthy? But on the right, synthetic monitoring is all about the journey, login success, checkout, API responses. It asks, can people actually use this thing? Think about it. If a database connection string breaks, your web server's CPU might actually drop because it's no longer doing any work. The infrastructure looks perfectly fine, but a synthetic login test, it would fail instantly and flag the actual business outage. Let's ground this in reality. Section 4, a real-world Google Cloud example and how we uncovered this blind spot. Imagine a modern online retail setup built on Google Cloud. Traffic routes through Cloud DNS, hits a global external app load balancer, and gets handed off to containerized microservices running on Cloud Run. Those services then talk to a back-end Cloud SQL database. It's a super standard, highly scalable architecture. So, your team pushes a new deployment. You pull up Cloud Monitoring and Cloud Logging. Everything looks fantastic. Cloud Run instances are humming along, CPU is barely sweating, Cloud SQL is totally normal, no deadlocks. According to the standard infra tools, the platform is flawless. You're probably ready to go grab a coffee thinking, nailed it. But wait, suddenly your synthetic login test flashes red. It fails. What happened? Well, it turns out someone accidentally pushed a bad OAuth configuration during that deployment. The load balancer, the containers, the database, they're actually running perfectly. But that one tiny misconfiguration broke authentication completely. Because you had a synthetic script trying to log in every minute, an alert fired immediately. Without it, your infrastructure dashboards would have stayed green, and you wouldn't have known about the total outage until angry tweets started rolling in. All right, Section 5, Synthetic Monitoring Best Practices, how to actually implement this effectively in your SRE workflows. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how geographic location changes everything. A user in Singapore might get a super snappy 45 millisecond latency and a perfect login. But at the exact same time, users in Europe might be suffering through an 850 millisecond delay and totally failing to log in because of a local DNS or routing issue. If you're only running synthetic tests from one region near your data center, you are completely blind to local outages. Testing from multiple geographic regions is absolutely non-negotiable. So here's your cheat sheet for a bulletproof setup. First, don't try to test literally everything. Just focus on your critical user journeys, the stuff that actually generates revenue. Second, as we just saw, test from multiple regions. Third, hook these tests right into your CI/CD pipelines so you validate business functionality the second a deployment finishes. That's a massive win for reducing your mean time to detect. And finally, combine these results with your infrastructure metrics and set your automated alerts on the failed transactions, not just on high CPU. On the flip side, avoid these common traps. The biggest mistake is just monitoring servers and totally ignoring the user workflow. Another is checking back-end APIs, but forgetting the front-end UI, where the clicks actually happen. And honestly, this is a big one. If your app changes, like you add a new step to checkout, you have to update your scripts. A broken script throwing false alarms will cause alert fatigue so fast, your team will just start muting them. Finally, Section 6, the architect's perspective, measuring success by customer outcomes. Let's zoom out for a second. Whether you're a senior cloud architect or really anyone shipping software, we all have to accept a hard truth. Your customers do not care at all if your Kubernetes pods are healthy or if your CPU is optimized. They literally only care if they can log in, check out, and get what they came for. We really have to shift our mindset from component health to business outcomes. Success in a modern cloud platform isn't an empty alert queue, it's a consistently great customer experience. And to be clear, synthetic monitoring isn't here to replace your existing tools. It completes them. Think of a mature observability platform like a giant puzzle. You need synthetic monitoring to proactively test the system, infrastructure metrics for component health, logs for debugging, traces to follow requests across microservices, and real user monitoring, or RUM, to see what actual humans are experiencing in their browsers. Together, these form the ultimate unbreakable observability stack. So I'm going to leave you with this one provocative question. Next time you're on call or designing a monitoring strategy for a new service, ask yourself, if your infrastructure dashboards say everything is healthy, but your users disagree, which one do you trust? Remember, healthy servers don't always mean happy users. Get out there, start proactively testing those business journeys, and you'll catch the issues way before your customers do. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.